What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Week 8 is here, and boy, oh boy, do we have some matchups to preview tonight. Welcome into the show. If you've never been a part of it before, make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the like button on this video. Thanks for joining us. This is College Football Heaven, and we are going to preview the Week 8 slate. But first, it's been a couple of weeks since I've talked to you. I haven't talked to you since 2 weeks ago, missed last week. The boys did a great job carrying the show, previewing Week 7, so make sure you check that one out. But we are going to recap a little bit of Week 7 tonight. We got some things to go over before we get into Week 8. Not joined by everybody, as Jake is traveling with the girlfriend. I almost said fiance. Not a fiance. Got Jake in trouble there on that. Sorry about that, Keith. But Jake is traveling. He's at a concert tonight. He didn't want to talk college football, so make your own little narrative about that if you're a common visitor. And I saw GA's already in the chat tonight, already watching college football. That is an ugly Sam Houston and UTEP game going on, but it's beautiful. That is midweek conference USA.
He should be fired up right now.
It does. It absolutely does. And then AKC, our boy, hopefully he dropped in the chat, but he's watching his game right now. They are rolling over a terrible, terrible opponent. So Jack State off to a good start. But the other two are here, JP, Reese, myself. We will take you through the Week 8 preview tonight. JP, how we doing? Ready to talk a little more college football. We are back.
I'm happy I sound better on the microphone. Yeah, so we got that figured out literally seconds before. Literally seconds before. Don't know what happened. Small change, small edit. I'll tell you that we got a full weekend of really good games and a good 11 a.m. slate, which hasn't happened very often. So me and Reese are going to figure out what we're going to do here. I know Parks will be up in Minneapolis Friday night. Me and Reese got to figure out how we're going to handle Friday night, Saturday games and get locked in to the slate to be.
Yep, that is a good plan, gentlemen. You got to find a bar, a lot of TVs, a lot of matchups happening on. It's actually a pretty spread out slate, too, with some good games in every time category, not too plagued like last week felt like it was. I felt like there was a really good 2:30 time slot last week that had a lot of upsets and close games. We'll see how this week goes. College football is becoming a little bit more week to week. Reese, how about you? You're heading up to Des Moines. How you feeling heading back to the home state to watch some football with JP and Iowa and Penn State? You could get an angry JP.
We could get an angry JP. I had I watched that video of, I think it was 2018, 2017 JP when Penn State had the ball in the first and goal or whatever. They had 4 chances and they got on 4th and goal. I remember just watching you and Cassie crumble on that couch. We're not going to have this weekend. Iowa's going to play good. Guess what? Syracuse is back this week. We're off a bye. We get Pitt. It's going to be a good week for the boys. We're going to have plenty of football to watch. We're going to play 18 on Friday. It's going to be a good day.
I mean, you have caught Penn State at a better time if you're Iowa? And honestly, you could add that into the Nebraska topic as well for that matchup later in the season. But Iowa's a 3-point favorite or 4-point favorite. It varies book to book at home this week against Penn State, who we were talking about playing for a national title just a few short weeks ago. James Franklin fired. Before we go into the Week 7 recap, I guess we can start there, Reese. Shocking news. What do you feel about that? I mean, well, let's start there.
Schaefer had that debate how many weeks ago it was where it's like, does it make sense to fire a coach early? I guess Penn State, they're trying to, sorry Parks, but like they think they're going to do better, but like I just hope it isn't a Bo Pelini situation for them. They think they're going to go get better right away and they have to rebuild for a little bit, but like it's a spot where like, are you guaranteed to go do better? Because I know everybody's talking about Rule right now, but I think Rule is like, it doesn't make sense for him to leave. Like Nebraska right now is a better program than what Penn State's going to be at. So like, do you leave somewhere that like Nebraska or Penn State was up here, Nebraska was here? Now it's like, do you really leave over there? Because now when he leaves, that program goes down there. And like, so I think that's interesting. So you talk about that. Like, I think you get a coordinator or you get one of these G5 guys to go, but I don't know if you get one of these P5 guys to go over there and take over. Like the guy's trying to contact Freeman. That's a long shot. Also, like your defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, like that guy just won a national title at Ohio State. Like, that's a potential right there. Or Aller hasn't panned out, but if you're looking to have an offense like Kotelnicki, your offensive coordinator too, like if you want to do something in-house, like there's always those guys too. But the Franklin firing my question was, and the Cover 3 pod cover this too, it's like, how does this affect other coaching spots around the country? How does North Carolina, Florida, how does Wisconsin, Florida, like is Florida State rethinking Norvell? Like how do these other coaches try to figure out their stuff too? Because this sets in motion. Like I think I went back and this reminds me of like the 2021 year when USC fired Clay Helton, and then like that sped up the firing of Ogeron to LSU, and then you lead quarterbacks to leave into the portal, and like this is just one big domino for the rest of this season and this offseason to be absolute chaos, I think.
It happened so fast, but I'm glad you brought up the Matt Rule point, because I brought this up on the Nebraska fan perspective. Check out our fan perspectives, by the way. Iowa, Iowa State, and Nebraska all streaming for this week. It just doesn't make sense to me. It makes sense to a lot of outsiders, I guess, except for Penn State fans. They don't want it. It's just not what they need at the moment. It's very eerily similar to Bo Pelini in my mind, Reese, but that also happened. Like, we can say that they shouldn't have done that, but it happened. So maybe history repeats itself. JP, what do you think? Penn State fires James Franklin. You guys play him this week. I mean, where's this program at?
I think that's just a reflection. Yeah, I think you're playing the number. It's just how you lose to Northwestern, and then now you have no Aller. And it's already an inept offense in some spots, and so you're going to go play a really good defense in Phil Parker that's kind of figured things out. They've been tested multiple times, so that's the worry. That's not saying, obviously that line's not saying Iowa's going to be really good offensively. But I think when you look, I mean,
38.5.
It is what it is, because if you're going to get the same Penn State team you've had 2 weeks in a row, like Iowa is the better team. But if you're going to get one inspired, I said this on my fan perspective, you cannot calculate the mentality or the headspace of a college kid. Like, you can't do it. The mentality of a team and, whatever's working in between the ears for these kids and a team in general changes a lot of outcomes just by default. So I think that's one thing that you just can't calculate. You could get a Penn State team fired up and a little upset that, they felt like they played bad enough to get a coach fired that they really liked, or you could get one who's like, man, this is just frustrating, right? You don't know. You have no idea, because it doesn't get any easier after they play Iowa. They still have to play really good competition, Indiana and Ohio State, I believe. So
Billy Tuesday, it's Wednesday, brother. This ain't your show. Don't come in here saying stuff like that. That's it. Come on, you don't want that.
It's Wednesday, Bill.
It's Wednesday, Bill. Come on, change that name. We're not about that today. We're not going to start off the show, my first show back in a while, talking negatively about any viewers. So thanks for being here, Bill, but change that name. All right, let's talk week 7 quickly. Let's leave the firing talk there. I'm sure we'll get another chance and all offseason long to talk where Penn State lands. There's a lot of contracts, by the way, that are going to keep negotiations behind closed doors for Penn State. So we're not going to find anything out for a while, in my opinion. But all right, week 7, what did you guys take away from the games? Any big one headline that stands out to you? Reese, why don't you go first?
I just think, the Penn State thing is the huge thing. Where you go in, you lose that game at home. That's just a spot where James Franklin. Like, it's like how do you look anywhere else? Like, you look at that thing, and that's just kind of what goes on. You look at, SEC had its days. Like, it had a good Saturday. Big Ten did its thing. I just think if you're looking anywhere like a college football, like, it's just kind of the state of where that's at right now. That's kind of where my attention went for this Saturday.
And that's fair. I think my attention kind of went on a similar note, but just to the parity of the sport. It's a word that you've heard used and I've used on this show, but it's almost a shot at the NFL over college football, guys. Hey, man, this product's changed over the last couple of years, and we're really seeing it take stride once the conference season's gotten in full swing, and we've gotten these matchups that maybe didn't feel like big matchups on paper going into the season come down to one-score games or overtime or last play or last drive situations. So it is becoming more of that week-to-week sport like the NFL is. The NFL is so hard from a betting perspective because you don't know what Jacksonville Jaguars team's going to show up or what Minnesota Vikings team's going to show up. There's a lot of college football teams that fit that narrative this year, gentlemen. So that sport inching closer to grab that audience and become equally as big. As long as they're paying attention, they should see it because it's happening in front of our eyes. GP?
We are in officially preseason predictions are dead territory.
Got a few of those.
And in your Mountain West title game, probably dead. I had Georgia Southern, Louisiana in my Sun Belt one. I know Louisiana still has a shot to get in there. Georgia Southern feels a little more not possible. So starting to see things crumble a little bit. So that's my biggest takeaway is like you're starting to see people revisit what they had and then people resurface what we've tweeted out in July or August or whatever we were previewing that specific conference. We're going to get resurfaced a couple times, and that's fine because when we're right, we want it. They don't want it when we're right. They only want it when we're right. The video
he's referencing is
we're Georgia a hand up accountability podcast.
It was a Georgia Southern highlight film, a little of our preview behind him. You know, this can be the team. Just some comments have rolled in this week like, nice. No, Like just basic, you gotcha. And they're right. We were wrong. We're not perfect here, but we do our analyzation and we call it how we think we see it. Does anybody got a good idea of college football this year? I think not. So let's leave week 7 there. Obviously, it's been a while since you've seen those games, but we will talk about those matchups heading into the week 8 previews, which we have a good slate of 4 games we're going to preview, as well as our G5 game of the week. Those 4 games start in the SEC. Let's start with LSU and Vanderbilt. This matchup is a little bit crazy. Look at yourself 3 years ago in the mirror and say, hey, Vanderbilt's going to be a 2.5-point favorite at home against LSU. You're going to go, what the hell are you talking about? Here we are. It exists. Diego Pavia is the home favorite against Garrett Nussmeiser and LSU. Let's break this one down. Reese, why don't you go first?
Yeah, for this one, I'm primarily looking at LSU in that defense. It's only get up 11 yards per game, or 11 points per game, 300 yards per game as well. And I think it's just all on Blake Baker in this defense. I think because Pavia and that offense, it's a well-rounded football team. You talk about what he does with his legs. You talk about Stowers out wide. You talk about how well they run the football too. Like Baker's got to get creative to confuse him pre and post snap, because if they don't, I just think this offense for LSU, it's one-sided. Like it is Nussmeier's arm, and they cannot run that football, as well as teams like we saw what Alabama did, and they ran the ball well against Vanderbilt. And if you want to beat this Vanderbilt team, you have to be able to run the football and eat up some clock. And Nussmeier, I don't think he's got good weapons, still SU, but he's got to do a whole lot more with his arm, I think, to keep them in this ball game. So I'm looking at that defense, specifically LSU's. They got to force turnovers. Pavia's only thrown 4 interceptions so far this year compared to his 14 touchdowns. So Baker, like I said, is going to have to confuse him pre and post snap. You got to get him into some 3rd and longs. But if you let him improvise, you can't let him do it for long. Like he has got to get rid of it when he's right in the pocket, or he can't go scramble for 5-10 yards or 5-10 seconds to try to make something happen. Because like you got to keep that guy bottled up, because it's also he's just the life force of that team. When he gets going, everybody else wants to go and wants to keep firing up for him too. So I think you got to keep Pavia bottled up. So I'm looking at Baker and that defense to beat the difference in this game if LSU's going to try to go win this game on the road.
I like that. And I like how you talked about the LSU rush game and how stagnant they've been throughout the season, because that's going to play a massive role. Because I think we're approaching that time in college football, gents, where we've played enough conference games or games of ranked opponents out of conference at this point now. I mean, it is week 8 where there's film or recipes out there for how teams have gotten beat or can get beat. And that's how we get the ideas of these matchups. And in this case, Vanderbilt, you got a high-flying offense. You're putting up still 470 yards a game, puts you in the top 20 in college football. But then on the flip side, the LSU defense has been the bright spot of that team, which we haven't been able to say the last couple of seasons. So if you take that matchup, you're like, oh, you got to give the edge to LSU if they can slow them down. But on the flip side of things, where has Vanderbilt gotten beat in their one loss to Alabama? They got drubbed in time of possession. 37 minutes to 22 in that game because Alabama could run the football. So if LSU can't get it going on the ground and is consistently punting the ball away, because Vandy defends the pass fairly well, you're going to put yourself in a really tough spot if you're Brian Kelly. And I'm glad we previewed this game first, because we just talked about James Franklin and how south it went for him so fast. I think this is kind of a similar situation to the Northwestern Penn State game on a different level, because we obviously know Vanderbilt's good, but it's also a situation where LSU should never lose to a program like Vanderbilt. And this can be the tipping stone for LSU fans to be like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, we just got handily beat by Vanderbilt. I don't care if it's on the road in front of 25,000 screaming fans. Like, we should take care of business in this situation. So big time game in the Brian Kelly area, in my opinion, maybe a little undersold, but a great opportunity for Vanderbilt to keep doing what Clark Ray's built over there the past couple of years. It's going to be a hell of a matchup, JP.
Yeah, I mean, it's strength on strength. It's a great offense for Vanderbilt scoring wise. LSU defense has been absolute nails. Alabama did benefit from some bad decision making from Pavia, as well as a fumble in the red zone. So that changes that game pretty quick when you're inside the 10 and you fumble and you throw a couple of picks late. And they were 3.8 yards per carry against Alabama, if you take out the 65-yard Alexander touchdown. So obviously that does count. It is a gash of somebody in the defense. So that's what LSU does well. They're going to keep doing that. Like they're going to keep being really good, stout defensively, and really good against the run. So can Pavia find ways to get the ball to playmakers like Stowers on the outside and other pieces? I also said, like, does this run game really come alive? Like, is there any real life to it? Is there any proof that it exists? because the offensive line struggled. Vanderbilt can get after you a little bit along the defensive line now. This isn't, 5-6 years ago, Vanderbilt, where there's nobody and no bodies on the defensive line to get after you. They can do so. They'll cause a little bit of havoc. It gets tough. But this is also, I think you can look at Ty Simpson and Nussmeier and be like, if we got guys on the outside, and both teams do, you're looking at a spot where maybe Nuss can sit in the pocket and just kind of slowly pick them apart in the secondary. That's a real possibility in this one too. And I don't want to overlook that, because obviously Vanderbilt had to play an Alabama team that was supplemented by the run. If LSU can just find a life in it, if they can just get something going to make it respectable, give me into 3.5 yards of carry territory, and then Nuss can throw it, he can be surgical in that spot. But it's strength on strength in that if Vanderbilt controls the time of possession, it's going to be hard for LSU to win, because they haven't hit the big plays and they haven't had the sustained drive. So it's going to be a fun one. There were times at one point where everybody would, paint Vanderbilt Stadium whatever colors they were coming in for, and just everybody would join in hands and go hang out on Broadway and enjoy a weekend in Nashville and roll Vanderbilt. Yeah, those times are over. They
are over. And that was one of the things Nick Saban said. He's like, the easiest place to play in the SEC is Vanderbilt, because you're going to have more fans than they will. I don't know if that's true anymore. And Billy Tuesday came in and threw a comment out there that he thinks Clark Lee will be a name to go get during the coaching carebuild and will be a targeted guy. Not a name we've heard yet, but definitely something to.
He likes being at Vanderbilt. I mean, that's his school.
Penn State just rebuild though, and just go back to another Vanderbilt coach.
I mean, if people are serious about the Matt Rule thing, they must be rebuilding. I don't get it, but no, it's a culture thing, and I get it. What JP's saying too, but is there a program right now looking for somebody that as gritty as a place that's benefited from that as Vanderbilt? Like, was Va Tech fit that narrative? I don't know. But he's definitely a targeted guy by somebody. Sure, I'm sure they'll have to throw some money at him getting out of the SEC and what he's doing.
And I think if going back to this one for a little bit, I think Vanderbilt has a bad taste in their mouth on how they lost that game. They felt like they had opportunities to take a lead or stay within it, within the number, and just turnovers and mistakes. Pavia's going to play, right? He's going to try to make the big play. He's going to try to do something crazy. You just kind of got to let him be him. At the same time, LSU has just been in dogfights consistently. At some point, can we just go handily beat somebody? South Carolina was held in check with that defense, but they didn't move the ball in South Carolina's defense, who has not been very good. That's a South Carolina defense that was torched by Vanderbilt earlier in the year. So it's there's your common opponent in two very different games. So is Vanderbilt going to get sunk down into how LSU's been playing things, or is LSU going to have to elevate to what Vanderbilt's doing offensively?
All right, JP, who's going to win the game? Who's going to cover the number?
Yeah, I'm going to take Vanderbilt here, minus 2.5 outright. I do think this is going to be one of those. I'm going to lean more towards lower scoring and kind of 27-20 kind of territory, where maybe some of those punches land for Pavia this time around. Obviously, he's going to have some issues dealing with this defense for LSU and the Weeks brothers and everybody, but I think there's just something here, a little magic left. They need a big one. They need a signature one. This is their opportunity for it.
I agree. I like Vanderbilt again with the number here, I should say, and winning this game at home. I think the difference maker is going to be Diego Pavia's legs. I think when we've seen LSU's defense struggle, very few and far between this year compared to what they've been, it's been with a running quarterback, and I think that fits this narrative, and I think Vanderbilt takes care of business at home. Reese.
Yeah, clean sweep here, boys. I talked about LSU's defense, but we forget about Vanderbilt's defense as well. They've already got 4 interceptions, and they've forced 7 fumbles. They've recovered 6 of them. So I'm looking at that defense to also get some takeaways against Nussmeier. He's already had 5 interceptions too. So I'll take the home team with a better overall team this year.
All right, clean sweep on the Commodores against LSU. What a world we live in, gentlemen, as Vanderbilt takes the first preview of Week 8 across the board. All right, let's head on over to the ACC. Let's talk my Ramblin' Wreck Georgia Tech Jackets headed on the road to play against Duke. Manny Diaz also in a lot of those coaching conversations, gents. Maybe a little distraction on the Duke side of things. Let's break this one down from the top. JP, do it for us.
This is the biggest test for Georgia Tech's defense to date. I think if you look at who was on their schedule, you wouldn't say that to start the year. But Colorado hasn't really turned out to be great offensively. Clemson obviously has had their struggles. You are now going on the road and playing a Mensa team and a Duke team who's really been explosive through the run and the pass. And so this is your biggest test to date. We're not really sure how good or if Georgia Tech's defense is good, because they struggled with a weight team that put up some points. Even Drones had some moments against them when they played Virginia Tech. But what do you know about Georgia Tech? Like, what if you think Georgia Tech, you're going to think Haynes King is a gladiator. He's just going to make plays. They're going to run him until they can't to any longer. Problem is that Duke's been really good and pretty solid against the run. They also like to blitz and get after you. So if he's taking hits in the run game, and then anytime they drop back to pass to get the ball out wide to a Rivers or a Canyon or a Rutherford, if he's getting hit in those situations too in the pocket, you wonder what kind of toll that takes on him. Is he pulling up a little bit more? Is he missing passes and floating things high, which ends up in, if it's over the middle of the field and getting picked off? That's a possibility. Flip it to the other side. Like, I kind of think that Mensah and the boys can have a real shot here to put up some points on Georgia Tech, and it's a weird matchup for them. I don't love this for Georgia Tech, but I don't think Duke's been told to match somebody physically like they're about to be asked to do, and I don't think Manny Diaz is a coach who can't get a team to do that, but they haven't done it to this point in time, right? Can you get the big plays for Georgia Tech if they're really keying in on that run game? Duke's been prone to giving up the big play through the air. So can you get the ball to Canyon, Rutherford, Rivers, those guys? And then I just think if you look at the big picture of this, who's going to have the ball more often? Who's going to make less mistakes? I mean, when Duke's been bad, Mensah's made the mistakes. Haynes King's not known as a great passer, but he doesn't turn it over, right? They don't make mistakes a ton at Georgia Tech. So I think that's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, I got to give a quick shout out to my guy, Cowboy. I could hear him whining. That's a dog, people. And you know who's a dog on the scoreboard below us? That would be Georgia Tech. So I'm glad he focused on Duke there and what they want to do, because it has been a high-flying offense. They've been slinging the ball around the yard. I think Darian Mensah hasn't gotten the flowers he's deserved from what he's done at Duke this season. But on the flip side, Georgia Tech has been good against the pass. I don't know if they've seen a passing attack like Duke has been putting out week over week this season, but they're the 34th best college football passing defense, and it's for good reason. They only give up 188 yards per game. That's what Duke has shown they want to do. They have the ability to run the ball, but on the flip side, that's where the matchup is kind of skewed, is Georgia Tech wants to run the ball, and Duke's been really good against the run. But everybody kind of is getting the key on Brent Key and what they do, and Georgia Tech's a team that has played up to really good opponents' levels and beaten ranked teams through his time there, and they play down. And when a team is not very good, they'll let them hang around and have to win by a 2-point conversion in the third overtime and or win on a walk-off field goal, which they've run into multiple times. This situation, this narrative, Duke stands at 4-2, Georgia Tech undefeated, 12th ranked team in the country. You got to expect them to play up to this moment in my mind. I'm going to go with my guy, Brent Key. I think he's going to take care of business. They're just gritty enough to get a win like this on the road. It's kind of teams that have gone into this situation, especially against like a team like Duke, where they get beat. Notre Dame is one that comes to mind that would go in and lose this game at Duke because they're a gritty-ass program. I think Brent Key runs a similar style. They're going to get it done. Haynes King's going to put his body on the line. That's something you can put a tab on or bet on every week. But I think they have to limit stupid turnovers. That's where Georgia Tech's really struggled this season, especially early in the year, how often they would fumble the ball 2 or 3 times within the first couple of quarters and really put themselves in a tough spot to come back from that. They've done it to this point, but when you get on the road in conference season, and we're in October, gentlemen, you're going to put yourself in a really bad spot if you do so. So they've got to avoid that. But I like Georgia Tech. I think there's more talent across the board, and Duke's going to run into a buzzsaw of a pass defense they haven't quite seen yet. But I could be wrong. College football, and the Lord knows now in 2025. Reese.
Yeah, Mensah, he's been a stud so far. I mean, your 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. That one in the Illinois game was the really bad game for him, was early on. But since then, I mean, this offense has been looking the part. You go travel across the country to a Cal team, and you just dominate them. So, like, there's a reason why the number is what it is, because of the guy like Mensah and Manny Diaz and what he's done with that program so far. And I kind of look at this one as Diaz has got to be something similar to kind of like what Baker's got to do against Pavia. Like, he's got to keep Haynes King in the pocket. He can't let him improvise, because you talk about Georgia Tech running the ball. They're extremely balanced offense too. They average 238 on the ground. They average 238 in the air. So, like, if one isn't going, they can get the other going. And if one's going, they can get the other one. It's just what this offense does. They'll find a way to be creative and stuff. And then we also saw the Georgia Tech team. They struggled with Wake. They got behind. They were slow. Same thing struggled with Colorado. But they can find a way to scratch and claw, get themselves back into the game. So I think even if Duke, does have success early, Haynes King makes some early mistakes, it's a Brent Key team where they can get themselves fired up and rally around one another. And especially, I mean, they're 6-0. Like I talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Florida State thing has kind of fallen apart since then. But this is a team, Georgia Tech, looking in like they have a very real shot to be competing with Miami at the end of the year for an ACC championship and get themselves into a college football playoffs. Like you have to go in and you got to find a way to win this football game if you want to be there at the end of the year. And I think this is a spot where I'm not going to doubt them because you say this team plays up to the moment, and this is the moment where they have to play up. Like they're the 12th ranked team, but they're not favored. They're going to play up to because they know how big this game is.
And Vegas knows, gentlemen. We've established that on this show. We've gotten burned by them enough. They typically know. So with that being said, which way he's going in this ACC matchup? JP, take us through your pick.
I think this is a weird matchup for GT. Also, this is like the third week in a row where we've had like the ranked team as a short dog on the road. I'm going to take the home team that's slightly favored against the ranked team. I'll take Duke here.
Yeah, that's not a bad narrative to follow. If you've watched the show before, or if you're a new guest, you know which way I'm going. I just can't ever go against him. If I get beat, I can sleep because I'm a loyal guy. I'm a character-built guy. So give me Georgia Tech plus the 1.5, outright winner on the road to 7-0. Georgia Tech to the playoff, Ramblin' Wreck all day. Reese.
It is a rat line, which makes me want to lean Duke, but I'm with you, Parks. I can't go against Georgia Tech. This is just a team where Haynes King, and then I think Shafe's going to go Duke. We'll see, but I just don't want to bet against Haynes King.
Genius.
I want to go them in the spot. I would love to see Georgia Tech become very relevant and be a part of the 12-team playoff in the year. And let's go one football game here, boys.
Now, I should know this as the uniform guy, but flashing back, was it last week they did the white yellow jacket, or is that this week on the helmet? Anybody know?
I saw the grays with the white yellow jacket 2 weeks ago, but I haven't looked this week.
Okay, well, they bring that one back out. Double my bet. I'm just throwing that out there. They need to bring that one back a long time.
Take a -6.5.
Yeah, that should be the everlasting logo at Georgia Tech. Bring back the jacket. He's on the cover of this preview if you're watching the YouTube clip. So shout out Georgia Tech. Shout out that brand. It's awesome. All right, that's it. That ACC matchup. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button if you're tuning in for the YouTube clip there. Let's head on over back to the SEC. Let's go between the hedges. Let's talk Ole Miss and Georgia. Got to talk this matchup, baby. Game day. Georgia, 7.5-point favorite at home against a top 5 team in the AP poll. Casuals would be like, what are we doing here? This team's undefeated. This team's lost. Is it really that good of an atmosphere? It is. And Georgia's a damn good football team. As much as ugly as they've won some games, it's still a Kirby Smart-led football team, and this is going to be an absolute dogfight and another opportunity for Lane Kiffin to cement himself with a big win and get rid of some of that narrative once again in 2025. JP, break it down for us.
Yeah, you look at this Ole Miss team a season ago, kind of got that signature win in this case, right? In Oxford with the Georgia team coming in. Now you go and you look at how these teams look different from they did a season ago. Ole Miss doesn't have the same studs on the defensive front. They're not as good defensively. Georgia doesn't have the same guys along the defensive front either. They've also struggled to consistently be good in the pass game, to be explosive, and in the run game, frankly, like it just looks like a different Georgia team. They look a little below where they're usually at, and that's obviously in comparison to how good Georgia's been in recent history. What is Ole Miss going to do? They're going to run the football really well with Chambliss, with everybody else in the backfield. This is a team that has one of the best play callers in the country in Lane Kiffin. How is he going to scheme the run game to kind of get after a Georgia defense who is giving up only 2.9 yards a carry? That's 13th in the country right now. Alabama did have a couple bigger ones as the game went on, but for the most part, Georgia held check. And that's, as Alabama was kind of getting their way better in the run game, but Georgia's been good for most of the year with it. When Ole Miss hits in the pass game, though, supplemented by that run game, it's usually to get Chambliss an open guy in a gash play. That's 15.7 yards per completion when they hit. I mean, they get you when they get you. And it's just if Georgia's not going to be able to get pressure on him and the run game's good too, it spells trouble for Georgia defense. That's still really good, don't get me wrong, but they're not getting pressure on the quarterback like they have in years past to bail them out in some spots. So that's something to pay attention to. Wallace and Wright, both over 20 yards a catch, 5 different receivers for Ole Miss, 15 receptions or more on the season. What about the Ole Miss defense? Kind of still trying to figure them out, right? Obviously, the LSU game didn't tell us much, told us more about what LSU is for the year. When you look at what Kentucky did. And I thought this was intriguing because it's kind of comparable. I think Georgia's a better offense, but Kentucky wanted to run the ball on Ole Miss, and they did. 4.6 yards a carry on 37 carries, and then Arkansas, 221 on the ground on 37, roughly 6 yards a carry. What has Georgia done when they're good? Run the ball really well. Stockton with his legs. They have a dual-headed piece in the backfield that they like. Split carries between them, basically. I think they might be split completely even on the season and run. So if they can run the ball, Georgia can, and control the clock and keep Lane Kiffin and his offense off the field, there's your recipe for success if you're Georgia. But if you can't run the ball and Ole Miss finds a way to keep Gunner kind of in the pocket, are you hitting the plays with Humphreys downfield? Are you hitting the plays with the Branch downfield? Or are you just making extensions of the run game and short pass routes and things like that? So that's where I see it.
I think it's a fair place to put it. I'm glad you brought up the Georgia rush game because I think Gunner Stockton's going to have to do it sometimes himself this weekend on the ground. And it's going to have to be consistently. I mean, you saw their touchdown last week to kind of put it out of reach against Auburn, which there's a lot of controversy around that game and the way it went. But at the end of the day, the defense bared down. They played Georgia football. And are we having kind of this conversation now where we should be, where maybe Georgia is just going to run the table, win the SEC, and go on being Kirby Smart, the Georgia Bulldogs? Because this is a situation and a game where that can kind of be the coming out party of, all right, Georgia's still really damn good, and maybe Alabama just has their number and they're going to be a high seed in the college football playoff and just be Georgia at the end of the day. But there also is some glaring issues. I think at the wide receiver position, Branch has been a bright spot, but outside of that, like, there's no standout player, right? Like, there's nothing on the outside that's going to terrify Ole Miss in my mind. Like, it's not a Jeremiah Smith target. So they're going to have to run the ball. And on the flip side, they're going to have to defend the run, especially the quarterback run. I think when you saw Auburn have success last week against Georgia, Jackson Arnold could really get it going on the ground, and he's been impressive throughout the entire season. Chambliss has the ability to do the same thing, or at least a similar style to be that way, right? So I think Georgia's got to defend that early, kind of key in those second half adjustments they put in against Arnold to really limit that Auburn offense and what they wanted to do in that second half, and they'll be fine in between the hedges. I think they're going to start kind of building that home winning streak back up. I think they're a 7.5 point favorite for a reason. Vegas knows a hell of a lot more than I do. So as far as I can build it down, you got to get Chauncey Bowens going on the ground if you're Georgia, and that's going to be the difference maker in this game. I think he's got 2 or 3 scores for the Dogs, and they roll at home between the hedges. Reese.
Yeah, I hate this line. It stinks. Just don't know which
way. They all stink now.
Flipping each week. They stink, dude. But, I mean, you look at what they both games last week, Ole Miss struggled against Wazoo. Georgia had a very physical game with Auburn. Like, that game was 10, but it was closer than that for a majority of the game. Like, they're both coming off of physical dogfights, and Georgia's offensive line is banged up. So, I mean, does Ole Miss take advantage of that? And I think JB kind of laid it out, too. Offensively, you know, Ole Miss, if you get the ground game going, you get Lacey on, that's going to open up Wallace, Alexander, and Wright. Like, for a full 4 quarters. Jesus Christ, say the words.
Full 4
there we go.
quarters.
There we go.
Long day.
Otherwise, if you're struggling to run the football, especially in the first half on the road, that's just going to make Kiffin have to be more creative. You're going to get Chambliss. Not to mention, this is Chambliss' first true road game. Like, that's probably also what helps the summer being where it's at. So I think that's a challenge for him too. You got to get there and quiet the noise. I think you got to get points in the first quarter. It's got to be a touchdown and a field goal, something to quiet that crowd to kind of not keep them in it the whole time, because we've seen this Georgia defense like struggle against the pass too. Like, Tennessee lit them up. Alabama lit them up. So, like, there are holes in the secondary. Trust me, if there's a guy who knows how to find it, it's Lane Kiffin. And he's going to find a way to get guys successful and be open too. So, like, that's what leads me to have a little bit of faith in this Ole Miss team on the road, just because of the guy you have playing, calling plays, and just that factor too. If you can just get your guys going, you get that team to believe, and you can kind of take the crowd out of it. It makes Stockton and that offense get 6 every time they get the ball. Then I have a little bit more faith in this Ole Miss offense. But you just also got to be able to slow Stockton down in this offense. Like you talked about, Parksy, Branch is kind of the primary guy. If he catches kind of those crossers, he can go and make guys miss, but they really don't have that deep threat that they're used to having, or it is kind of that power rush that they are used to having as well too. So, like I said, this line stinks. I really don't know which way I'm even going to lean. I'm going to wait till you guys pick to see where I go. But it's still a hell of a football game. Like, this is going to be a great one to help determine the rest of the SEC, because this is, I don't know, would you say like a 5-team race to the top of the spot in the SEC by
Could
the
be
end of the year?
6, like it. 7.
Especially if Ole Miss loses this game, it is open. It is open.
Yeah, it damn well is open. And I'm happy you said I was going to wait until you guys made your picks and go off that, because we give a lot of picks out on the show. We pick every game we preview against the spread, but like, you know how on team rankings or covers or wherever you can find your betting information, if you go to a website, there's always like a star of a confidence number. This would be at 1 for a majority of places you're going to find and or picks, and it might even be a half a star for me, even though I gave you a full breakdown of my spots.
Half a star.
Yeah, it really is. JP, who you got in this one? Who's going to win? Who's going to cover the number?
I got Ole Miss covering the number. I think they have a chance to win it, but I'll take Georgia to win. I think this is within 3 points here. I think there's just a world where you need to see Georgia hit that second part like they did in that Tennessee game offensively. Don't know if they will. And if they can't keep the run game slowed down for Ole Miss and they can't keep themselves on the field with sustained drives, there's an opportunity here for Ole Miss to win this one outright. But I'll take Georgia to win within 3. So plus the points for the Rebs.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in a lot of spots this year where I've bet against Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin just because I think it's probably history bias and what he's done in these big-time matchups, and maybe that tide's a-changing. So Ole Miss against the number feels great. But again, I got to put my head on that pillow at night, and my thoughts got to be able to put me to sleep. And I'm going to bet on Kirby Smart at home when I got to do things like that. So give me the Dogs to cover the number at home. I think they can get enough done on the ground, keep Ole Miss's offense at bay enough, maybe get a couple of Division II style turnovers out of Chambliss and carry themselves to victory. So give me the Dogs. I think they might run the table from here on out. Reese.
Yeah, I hate it, but I'm going to take a true freshman on the road in Athens. I just think Lane Kiffin's going to be able to keep some stuff up, get creative, but I'll take, or not true freshman, but his first true road game. That's what I meant to say. My first true road game. Sorry, for this guy in the SEC. There we go. But I'll take Ole Miss in this spot. I think if you're going to 7.5, that means you're going to beat them by, I mean, still 8 technically, 1 score, but I don't think they're going to beat them by 2 scores. I'll take Ole Miss.
Math.
Plus the points. Math.
That's great math. So, all right. Two on Ole Miss against the spread. JP thinks Georgia's going to win the game. Reese has got him winning outright. Would be a hell of a scenario and situation. And I'm wondering how Georgia fans would really react to Ole Miss going in there and winning this football game. That would be something to follow. I'm sure the Georgia message boards would be must-see television on Sunday. So, all right, that is that one in the SEC. Let's head on to our marquee matchup of the week. What is it? The Holy War. Let's go to the Holy War and let's preview this one. Before we do so, let's remind you to shop our great partner over at Frost Buddy. Somebody do me a favor and throw that QR code up on the screen. It's going to go above Reese's beautiful head and nice cap.
Flavor during the ad read.
Yes, scan that QR code. Get to frostbuddy.com/PTFS. Find your universal Frost Buddy. Keep your drinks cold all season long. Scan that QR code right now. Find your team. They got the University Collection. That's, of course, what we're going to tell you to get. Follow along with your college football team. Keep your drinks cold all season long. When you're home gating, when you're tailgating, it doesn't matter. Keep them cold with frostbuddy.com/PTFS. All right, gents. Marquee matchup of the week, the Holy War. Of course, Utah at BYU. A very American-styled colored matchup we have in front of us. This should be a hell of a lot of fun. A 3-point line in favor of the Utes on the road against a ranked BYU team. First ranked-on-ranked matchup for the Holy War in quite some time. It's going to be a dogfight. Race, where do you see it?
Yeah, when you're looking at Utah and like kind of the success they just had last week against Arizona State, yes, you didn't have Lev in that game, but you also ran the hell out of the football. You ran it 42 times for 276 yards. And like when this offense is cooking and grooving, it's when Dan Pierre is using his legs and that offense is moving and grooving and they can do kind of their own things. And then you look across the way, yeah, it's in Provo, and this BYU team is 6-0. Bear Bachmeier, true freshman quarterback. I just think if you look at their wins, like I don't know if they've barely been tested like this Utah team has. Yes, they played Texas Tech at home, or Utah played Texas Tech at home. That game kind of got away from it at the end. It was a battle for the most part, but then just kind of got away from it at the very end there. But this Utah team has been tested. They've played a better competitions. BYU has beaten Arizona, Colorado, West Virginia, East Carolina, Stanford. And I think the other one was like Portland State. But these other games, this middle to kind of the lower pack of the Big 12, they're beating. They're not like blowing the doors off them. They beat Arizona by 6. I think they beat Colorado by a field goal. West Virginia, I believe they beat by 14. But like they're not just completely dismantling these teams like you would expect this, a BYU 6-0 team to be doing. It's kind of just the issue too. Like you have that true freshman, it's wearing number 47 too, kind of an oddity there. We're going to talk about that too for this team. But I just think Utah You got Kyle Whittingham. You got a team going on the road who's been tested more. I think they're going to go on and get theirs. They're going to run the football extremely well. Like this BYU defense has looked good. Like they're only giving up like about, I think it's like 160 yards per game on the ground. But have they faced a good run attack yet? I don't think they have. They haven't seen a quarterback like Dampier or an offensive scheme like Utah's going to have. So I think Utah's going to get it going early and often on the ground. I think they're going to establish themselves. We'll know by the end of the first half. I think if BYU is going to be able to kind of stick around and make this a football game, I think they're going to get their points. They're still going to make this game competitive towards the end. But I think it's Utah all the way in this one on the road.
I like that feeling. I think when you look at these two teams and what they've done, especially in matchups like this in big game scenarios, they've made the big plays. They've had the big long touchdown runs, the kick returns, whatever it may be. Both of these programs, when they're playing outside of this game, have done that. And something's got to give here. One of the teams has got to come away with it, and it's usually been the home team. So I think BYU may have a couple explosive plays early, but I think it's going to come down to the trenches. And Reese already mentioned it, but BYU hasn't faced a team that's as good as Utah in the trenches. And Utah gave that Texas Tech front some fits at points and kept that game low scoring and close against a really earned top 10 team in Texas Tech. And we're going to get some true freshmen mistakes out of Bear Bachmeier this week. We've seen it in the past. He threw a couple of picks last week. I think Utah is going to force him to do a couple of more. But I think if you're BYU, the recipe for success is rushing the football. You have to be able to win some up front to get LJ Martin going, get Bachmeier going. He can run the football too if you haven't watched BYU this year. But them being at home gives me that immediate thought of them getting up early. But usually October football, conference football, the trenches are really the difference maker, and Utah has the edge, which is why the line is where it is pretty heavily. And I think they're going to be in some shock for the physicality of that Utah Utes group, and they're going to be ready to go. So I like the Utes off the rip, but I could be swayed to JP. You got any points for BYU to change me over?
I would just say, like, you guys have touched the run game quite a bit here, but like Utah won't throw the ball if they don't have to. Like, I think he had 12 pass attempts last week. Like, he won't. They won't. There's something to be said here, though. Like, if you're BYU and you know that, come with everything you have and make them be really good to go 75 yards on the ground, right? And then make him beat you through the air, because that has yet to be proven as well. There is a world where BYU knows Utah so well, even though this is a different quarterback than what they've had in years past and a different type of quarterback. You can slow down the run enough to make them, maybe you get them in a couple third and longs in the first or second half or in some key spot and key drives, and then he has to beat you with his arm. There's your recipe for success. With Bachmeier, like, he's going to run the football a ton. I think if we'd be wrong if we weren't sitting here mentioning LJ Martin and how good he's been for this BYU team on the ground.
Right.
If Utah can slow that down, and I think they slowed down Tech for the most part until that kind of, as soon as that game opened up. But if they can run the ball respectably, I think Bachmeier in the play action game and just an extension of the run game is probably the direction they go. They don't have that true one. They have Kingston on the outside. He's more of a slot guy and a speed guy to hit you. Quick through the middle on some slants or different pieces. He got Arizona last weekend. But if you're looking for where they really can light you up, it is still on the ground game. And maybe, yes, BYU hasn't played the same teams through the trenches, but it doesn't mean they're not going to have a different level of emotion and a different level of, we have to get this done. We know what our strength is. We're not going to shy away from it. So even if it's not working to start out, I would urge BYU to stay on it and just try and find their way to work through this whole thing and play off the crowd a little bit. And then, something weird's going to happen. We're at night. We're in Provo. It's one of the bigger rivalries in the country. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's going to be a weird bounce of ball thing. I think this is one of those where you can't sit there and say, it's just going to be strength versus weakness, and this is what's going to happen based on the numbers. This could be a world where Utah can't run the ball worth a lick and BYU can't run the ball worth a lick, and you're dealing with two quarterbacks who have to really sit in the pocket and throw it around. Then you have no idea what's going to happen, right? Who makes the mistake first? Both of them prone to the mistakes. So it's going to be fun. I think this is one of my favorite ones of the weekend.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there at the end. They both are mistake prone, and the defenses both have their highlights on them. Like, both defenses have been good, and especially late in games. So I think it goes one of two ways. I think we either see a BYU get off, make that big kind of play at the beginning of the game, whether it be a punt return, kick return, big long pass, that place is going nuts, and then they settle in, or it's going to be a defensive dogfight and it's 0-0 at the end of the first quarter and probably midway through the second quarter. Like, it definitely has the capability to do so. And these rivalry games, the lines don't matter. Some of the times the matchups go out the window. Like, Lord knows what's going to happen. And that's why it's the Holy War. So let's go to picks. Who's going to win this matchup? We have score predictions for this one. JP, you're going to lead us off. So a lot of pressure, marquee matchup. Who do you think is going to win the game? You got BYU, you got Utah. What's the score going to be?
I got Utah in this one, but I think this is going to be a lot more fun, a lot high scoring. I think both offenses are going to get theirs. You're going to go 34-30 Utes. Let's have a little fun. Like, let's light up the scoreboard a little bit. Let's get weird in Provo late. This is going to basically come down to who can have the bigger play more consistently and sustain drives longer. And I'm going to take Utah in this situation.
I really thought this one thoroughly through, and I was like, where have I sat down on my couch late at night, mountain time, and watched a team that I didn't think was going to win a football game have some massive plays where I'm sitting there going, how am I so wrong? I watch this sport every week. And this game was that. So I had to go against my own thoughts from the past. I like BYU. Those explosive plays, I think it's more likely they're going to get up early, have those punt returns, have something crazy, block, punt, touchdown, something crazy to get Provo up and going. It is an incredibly tough place to play. And if there's anywhere that it's going to be a game that doesn't go the way it should based upon the talent and what a team wants to do, it's a rivalry game in college football. So give me BYU at home to stay undefeated, 27-24. I like him in a close one, walk-off field goal style. Hell, even a 2-point win would make sense in my mind in this style of game. That's just what college football is, and it can't stray off that as much as the transfer portal and conference realignment wants to change it. Reese.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kyle Whittingham and this defense. I think they're going to try to confuse Bear Bachmeier, the true freshman, probably the biggest game he's going to play in this year so far. Confuse him pre and post snap. Is it zone? Is it man? Where the hell am I going? Go to my second or third read. Like you talked about, Parks, make him to make those mistakes. And if he does make those, let your offense run the football as long as they can be successful. Dampier, he just can't give right back to him. I think Utah in this one goes on the road, gets a big win. BYU sticks around in it, but I think it's Utah all day. They're going to get the ground game going, and I think Bachmeier is just going to have more of a challenge than he's had so far this year with this Utah defense.
All right, there it is. 2 on the Utes, 1 on BYU. JP has them covering, so does Reese. So it's straight up against the spread if they're going to win the game or not, even though the line's 3 in favor of the Utah. So if you're joining us for this marquee matchup clip, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop your score prediction in the comments. We want to hear from you. Both of these fan bases are great. It's going to be a hell of a matchup in Provo. That place is going to be a nut house. So appreciate you for joining this clip. All right, that's that game. Let's leave that there. Let's head on to the G5 for our last full breakdown and preview of Week 8. The G5 game of the week is Old Dominion and James Madison. This matchup is awesome. A couple of high-flying teams with some pretty convincing wins on their schedule and really trying to make a push in the Sun Belt late in the season. It's the G5 game of the week for a reason. Gentlemen, let's break it down. Reese, go first.
Yeah, I mean, if we know anything about this Old Dominion team is when they want to get that offense going, they can do it. Colton Joseph and Traquan Jones are both running the ball extremely well. They're both 30 yards shy of 500 on the year already. Not to mention Joseph's also throwing the ball well, too. He's got over 1,300 yards, but his issue is turning the football over. He's already got 6 picks through the air, and then offensively as a unit, they have 15 turnovers. Like, you cannot afford to do that going on the road against this James Madison team, who is a well-put-together team. Talk about that offense. The issue with James Madison, I was able to find out, they are very penalized on that side of the ball, so they cannot get themselves into situations where you're looking to get 6. You can't have those holding calls, those pre-snap penalties, things like that, because Old Dominion, I talk about that offense. Like, if they can get themselves going, they're going to get going as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot in this spot. And then getting this game in Harrisburg is going to be massive for JMU. And Old Dominion, we had that letdown spot last week against Marshall where you gave up the 48 and you just didn't look like the team that we all like. They kind of just came out of nowhere. They absolutely dominated Coastal. And then you had that letdown spot. So I just think this is a spot too where you kind of have that sour taste in your mouth. You're going on the road, a huge conference game. I think Joseph and the boys are going to get a little fired up and they're going to get that offense going.
JP.
Yeah, you made a good point on the Old Dominion offense. Could rebuttal with that and tell you that JMU's got one of the better G5 defenses in the country. This is a defense only giving up 2.6 yards a carry. They've been challenged through some pieces, and it's really good through defending the pass. It's really good against the run as well. it's a little strength on strength, right? Like ODU is going to run it. They got a two-headed monster in that Reese covered. Can JMU slow that down and really make Joseph go through the air and make plays without turning it over? On the flip side, JMU's ran the ball really well as well. Like, if you look back like the last couple of years, I feel like James Madison's been good running the ball, but Barnett's been able to really let it fly through the air, and they've gotten big plays and gash guys. They feel like they've leaned more into kind of that run game a little bit more here. And Old Dominion is not bad against the run, but it's definitely not their strength. And so that's a bad matchup there. And if Barnett's got to throw it, gunslinger, man. Guy just wants to make plays downfield in the vertical passing game. That's kind of where ODU's been better. I mean, they went and played some power conference teams, and they've been really good defensively through the air and making sure people don't make plays. 7.6 yards per play for ODU is third in the country, by the way. Like, just to back up kind of what Reese was saying, that's pretty high up there. James Madison's been really good as well, that direction. So you are looking at a matchup of two teams where strength on strength, but then we flip things to James Madison on the offensive side of things, and you start to see little pieces where the Dukes have a chance to really lean on this Monarch defense and beat them in the long run.
Yeah, they obviously, the key to success here is JMU slowing the rush game down, and I think they're going to put themselves in a really good spot. At the end of the day, that's what Old Dominion wants to do. It's about a 60-40% split in favor of the rush, which is pretty much opposite for a majority of programs in America. And James Madison's been, again, very good on defense. And one key stat that JP probably knew but didn't say is how good they've been on third down. They're only giving up 30% conversion rate on third down. And to get them at home, Old Dominion, you asking them to convert when last week they only went 4 for 14 against Marshall is a really tough thing to do to make that jump in a week, especially playing an experienced and really well-coached defense in James Madison. So if they're going to find success, one, they've got to run. Two, they've got to extend drives and keep JMU's offense off the field, because once they're out there, they can be consistent enough at home to really control the clock and take control of this game. So you got to favor James Madison based on paper, to be honest with you. And what happened last week, it was a real, I don't want to say a hangover spot because it didn't feel
they were looking ahead to this one.
Yeah, it could have been a look ahead spot for sure. And in that case, maybe we get a different 47-7 version of Old Dominion where they handled Coastal the way they did, like Reese mentioned. But James Madison feels equally prepared for this spot. I like their defense. I think defense wins championships and defense wins big games. And at home, you got to give them the edge, right? So that's where I'm sitting in my mind. Maybe I can be convinced otherwise. What do you think, Reese? Old Dominion on the road, can they get it done, or does James Madison cover the number here?
The stat that concerns me is the 15 turnovers as an offense against this James Madison defense you guys keep highlighting too. And then James Madison just runs the ball extremely well too. They're averaging 230 on the ground as well. And Wayne Knight's just out of the backfield. He's averaging over 6 a carry too. So all of those stacking up, I think, and with the line being as short as it is, Old Dominion's got to go in there. They got to be high fly, and they can't afford to turn the ball over. I just think James Madison's in a better spot here. You talk about Barnett trying to make plays downfield against a veteran secondary, but I'll take JMU in this spot just because I think they're going to get that ground game going, and they'll be more successful with that.
Yeah, and one thing that we should have brought up, and it was earlier in the season, so things have changed, is James Madison got into early in that game. It was a dogfight with Louisville and what they wanted to do. And we've seen Louisville's offense struggle at times, but they're good enough to score against what James Madison should be. That's just the G5 difference between Louisville, who at that time was a top 20 team, I believe. They were really good, and they were leading that game. So if they can get off to that sort of start, really get Old Dominion out of that consistent drive feeling or their repetitions, or what am I trying to say here, guys? Help me out. They're trying to get out of their rhythm.
There you go.
Can't find any rhythm. If they can't find a rhythm, they're going to struggle. And I think James Madison covers this number easily, probably wins the game by 10. And I think their defense is capable of doing so. I think they're going to force a couple of turnovers on third downs. Colton Joseph trying to force a few things when he's forced to throw the ball. So I like the Dukes at home to cover the number and win. JP.
Yeah, I think Old Dominion will get theirs. I don't think it's an offense you can completely shut down, but I am going to take James Madison here. I think it's a matchup offensively when the Dukes are had the football. It's going to be a little tougher for the Monarchs to slow them down. And so that's where I'll go here. I'll take the home team here minus the short number. I do think the ODU loss last week kind of stinks, but I think it was 100% a look at spot. They thought they were going to roll Marshall, found out the hard way. You got to play every game, all 12 of them.
All right, there it is. That's a G5 game of the week. James Madison, big time spot. We'll see if the Dukes can get a big win at home this weekend. I believe that's a Saturday 2:30 kick. Tune into that one. Always support the G5 like we do here at Play the Fight Song. That is it for the Week 8 previews on the board. It's time for the betting segments and recaps from last week. Before we do so, there's one thing you can always bet on, and that's our great partner over at No Rivals, giving you the best hat designs in the game. ShopNoRivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on all of your awesome new hats. I'm rocking the North Texas Game Day Collection one on. Reese has got the Montana State Bobcats on tonight. That is a beautiful cap. Check them out. Buy them today. ShopNoRivals.com. Code PTFS. New teams now going on there. UConn, you're live. Shout out to the G5 once again. Check out your caps. Get ready for basketball season, what you really care about. But football targeted show here, people. So that was a tough mention from the chest there. But check out No Rivals. Great partners, great people, great caps. Code PTFS for free shipping at checkout. All right, let's go to the betting segment. Last week, the recap, although my picks didn't get said on the show, so maybe we should put an asterisk next to them, they didn't go very well. Let's start with the Dogs Dog first. Dogs Dog was okay for the group as a whole. Last week's Dog Reese covered plus 6.5 Maryland at home against Nebraska. They only lost by 3. Good call, Reese. Illinois plus 14.5 against Ohio State. For me, that did not happen, unfortunately. JP, Temple plus 9.5 against Navy.
Oh, we had a chance to win it.
That's a cover.
Had a chance to win it.
Definitely had a chance to win it. And then Jake, Troy plus 9.5 versus Texas State. Cover and a win outright, which is a big time swing in favor of Jake. And then JT, who got his feet wet into the play.
Got his feet wet. He dove into the deep end, brother.
We gave him 3. Turns out he needed 30.
Yeah, it did not go well. The Beavers fired their coach this week. It went so poorly, they fired their coach. Maybe not the Dogs.
His backup was Kansas, and I don't think that hit either.
Which he was supposed to come on the show tonight. If you find JT on Twitter, if he unlocks his account, send him a message.
We're only human.
He wanted us.
I've been wrong so many times.
He was, I think, 7-2-1 on the board. And he won his best bet, but he didn't want to mention his dog debacle. So he just wanted us to mention that his one appearance.
Yep. And so he'll be back, and I'll only tell you about that 7-2, which is damn impressive, to be honest. But betting that is the Dogs Dog from last week's standings. Stand as is. Reese 14 points on the year, JP 13, Jake 11, me at 10. We're just a Dogs Dog outright winner away from being back at the top. So I went from 2 to 4 this week. It's a close battle, so we are picking some winners and going back and forth. Then it's been a fun matchup to follow. What are this week's bets, gentlemen? What is the underdog you're taking? What do you feel good about? Who is it? Tell us a little why. JP, you first.
Who I'm going first? The guy on the top of the leaderboard doesn't have to go first, huh?
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's an advantage to let the people underneath him go first in case they have the same picks. I was contemplating that yesterday.
Go, JP.
We got 2 here. Confidence level lower, but this one I like more. Give me USC plus a 9.5 at Notre Dame. I understand it's a little injury-ridden team. They battled up a little bit. Notre Dame's been looking forward to this piece. USC is not good on the road. See all those things that don't make sense and why you shouldn't do it. You know why you should? Because it's rivalry. And this USC team's still really good offensively. Maybe they got something figured out last week against Michigan. Obviously, CJ Carr's a different quarterback than Bryce Underwood. Hey, I'm just going to take a team that can score points, and I think they're getting a little better on both lines of scrimmage. So I'll take 9.5 USC versus Notre Dame.
All right, 9.5 on the Trojans. Reese, did he take your pick, or what do you got?
No, he didn't. I'm going to confirm this number didn't jump at all today, but I am going to be going to the SEC. This is a spot. You guys can double check if this number changed for me today, but I'm going to be taking Mississippi State plus the 10.
It's on 9.5
on
DK.
9.5. Okay, 9.5, whatever. Even better. I'll take plus 9.5 going to Florida. We've seen Mississippi State this year. They have surpassed what I think people thought they were going to be. You get a big win against Arizona State, and then you did go on the road to Tennessee and play them competitive. Didn't go as well last week against Texas A&M, who was my best bet last week, and they beat them handily. But I'm going to take Mississippi State on this spot on the road. Gotcha. I think DJ Ledwig might have some issues, but I'll take Mississippi State plus the 9.5.
I'm now contemplating my pick the more I look at it, and I'm like, trying to get some statistics for you. And I did take a trap line. Like, I'm going to take Pitt plus the 10.5. I don't think they win the football game. I think they're like maybe just tabbed for a hangover spot or whatever the hell you want to call it. But give me Pitt plus the 10.5 against Syracuse.
Yeah.
Feels trappy.
10.5 point dogs.
10?
No way.
There's no way that's 10.
Wait, is it not listed?
Syracuse plus 10 and a half.
Syracuse is
Syracuse
plus
10 and a half. Yeah,
what?
yeah.
This one.
I was about to say.
Can I show the screen?
That can't be right. That can't be right.
I was gonna say
what?
There's no way. We have not. Syracuse has looked bad.
I can't show the screen because it's not a. I don't know how to say this. It's not a known betting platform, folks. It's we live in Nebraska, but this one says plus. Maybe that is not what would happen.
You can take plus 10. That's a great pick to take. Take that. Just not as your dog's dog. Take that.
You're
getting that free money. Take that.
That's great. All right. Maybe I was missing something. That's really why I felt like it was a trap. So maybe I was all right. We're good. We're good.
that would flag trap for me too.
Steve's back from the Achilles.
Clear the air here. All right. We'll go for my second pick, and that was obviously with the game we just broke down. That's the Holy War. So give me BYU plus 3.5. That barely beats the minimum, but if I think they're going to win the football game, why not write them out as the dog's dog of the week? So let's take the BYU. I'll take the Mormons at home.
The number's 3, right?
I see 3.5 live right now, so it's got to count.
It's juice to Utah, so I just see it.
You also just saw plus 10.5 for Pitt.
No. I'll switch this one. This one I can show, folks. This one I can show.
I'll give you a half if you can prove it.
You see 3.5?
Yeah.
All right.
I see 3.5.
Yes. Thank you, man.
ESPN bet.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
Unnamed sportsbook.
Men of honor.
Hey, you both had Utah. You should have just given me the pick and let it ride.
Men of honor.
I'm in last place.
I haven't listened to your Nebraska fan perspective yet, and I don't want to blow the prediction on it.
What a co-host.
I haven't done it yet. Can you tell me without going into too much detail, did you have Minnesota within the number?
I did not. Barely outside of it. I had 27-17, but that requires not Nebraska to not Nebraska. But if anybody on this show would have picked Minnesota, I would have said great fucking bet.
That was on my list.
JP, that was my number 2. If I thought you were going to go there, because
I think we all were on the same train here, because
but I just think home dogs.
I had Mississippi State on my list too. I thought about Syracuse plus the 10, not Pitt plus the 10, and then I looked at the BYU one too. And before I sent you my pick, so we're all kind of on the same wavelength here.
As crazy of a Nebraska fan I may be, and an asshole, I'm not a dumb asshole. That's not a dumb bet. That's a great bet. Minnesota plus. I saw that line get up to 9. If you got that number,
I did too.
You are in great shape. Now, I hope you're wrong. I'll be there. So let's really hope they're wrong, just for the sake. I've been to a Nebraska away game where we did not cover the number. I'll still tell you that. So you're not in bad shape there, but that's not a bad bet at all. Let's go on to the best bets to finish up tonight's show. A little bit more positive note. Let's hope I'm going to stay on the ESPN bet segment to avoid some issues. We gotta text somebody after this for sure. But best bet last week, Reese W. Texas A&M -7.5 against Florida. Easy win there. Myself lost. Tennessee -11.5. We had the chance. We got it to 10. Had like 8 minutes left, and then it became really damn close. JP, Jack State -7. Yeah, did not hit.
Play football.
Texas
will hit tonight,
under 21.5 loss. So unfortunately,
special
JP
teams
did not come with
touchdown. Special teams touchdown. Can't give up punt returns and team totals.
You were in great shape in that matchup
until the punt return. Yeah.
Jake, Kansas State -1.5 against TCU. Very good win. Calls himself Big 10 Jake. Big 12 bet. Make that make sense. JT, best bet 2.5 in favor of USC against Michigan. Easy win there as USC really handled business against the Wolverines. This week, a lot of bets out there, a lot of opportunity, a lot of possibility. JP, you can go again first.
Oh, I'm going to go again first?
Yeah, I'm a nice guy.
Lay all 24.5 of them, fellas. This is going to be a rough day.
Okay.
Ohio State -24.5.
I'm similar here.
This is the end of an era in Madison, Wisconsin. This is an Ohio State team who doesn't even need to try super hard to beat teams down. Lay them. Don't look back.
Okay.
That
might be the best bet of the show of the week. Like, we could all get on that. That might be like the play of all plays.
Lay them.
We can parlay the spread. The spread, the game over, and then my best bet is Ohio State's team total over of 33.5. They're going to cover the over by themselves. The over-under's at 41.5. Ohio State might score 45, 48, 50 in this game. They'll cover it all themselves. I'm taking Ohio State's over
33.5.
Team total over Ohio State. This Wisconsin team is just gonna struggle.
If Parks doesn't play on the total, I'm gonna cry.
Dude, it's going to be like you said. It's the end of Luke Fickell. Santa Luke Fickell.
The PTFS same game parlay.
We could run that. I would feel comfortable.
It's all Ohio State.
At me on Ohio
State.
Yeah, I could feel really good about anything
Ohio
you throw at me after watching Wisconsin last week. If anybody's gotten the dishonor of watching Wisconsin this year, it's bad. It's like bad. I have two that I really love. Obviously, one, you can probably guess where I'm going. I like North Texas to bounce back this week at home against UTSA. It's only a 3.5 point line in favor of the Mean Green. But the one I want on the board, just to switch it up for my North Texas, which is probably going to hit when I take the other one. Gentlemen, we didn't talk about Kent State running over UMass last week, but it was beautiful, and we all had them. Unanimous pick win. UMass sucks. I mean, they suck. So I'll take Buffalo minus a 16.5 on the road against UMass. Get out of here with that line. That's not enough. Give me Buffalo. I know Taquan Robertson's still questionable. Don't care. Give me Buffalo. UMass is a bad football team. Shout out Minuteman Command. Good person. They cover the team really well. They'll get there, but first year, bad football team. Equally as bad as Wisconsin, just on another level. So give me Buffalo. I don't know where Jake's at.
Confirmed, not good.
Yeah, no, horrible. They will get Jake's pick out on the board before this weekend starts, but that is the best bets for week 8 in college football. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button on the show. It's been a lot of fun. We covered a lot of games. It's a little bit shorter show tonight without Jake long-winding us, but we appreciate you. We'll see you next week for the Week 9 preview and some college football content throughout. So follow us on all platforms at Play the Fight Pod. Shop great partners, frostbuddy.com/PTFS. ShopNoRivals.com, code PTFS. Both get your free
I got a new hat coming. Got a new hat coming on Friday. Come on.
Oh, JP with the new No Rivals cap. Good man, just like you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We'll see you next time. We love you. Peace.